Hello and welcome to the program. I'm your host, Cheryl Noble. My guest today is Pauli Halstead, author of Primal Cuisine, Cooking for the Paleo Diet, now in its second edition. Tonight we're going to learn about the paleo diet and why it's so important for our health. And a little bit later in the program, we're going to have a cooking demonstration from one of the recipes in the cookbook. So let's get started with Pauli and paleo. Hi, Pauli.
Hi, Cheryl.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well, let's cut to the chase. Tell us what paleo diet is.
Okay, paleo refers to the Paleolithic times. During that time of our evolutionary history, it was the end of the Ice Age, and we started out being mostly foragers as humans, but then we learned to hunt. We developed projectile weapons, and we began to hunt in earnest. And scientists now believe that it was that diet, that evolutionary diet, which consisted of wild meat and wild fish primarily, which was very high in omega-3 fatty acids, that contributed to our large brains and gave us the capacity for speech.
Oh, so the paleo refers to that ancestor, that a time
Yes.
of how they ate and the type of food that they ate.
Yes.
And then, so how does that relate to modern times then?
Okay, well, first of all, we're not talking about a diet here
Right.
like in losing weight or something like that. So what we are talking about here is the evolutionary way of eating, which sustained us during that long evolutionary time frame. And we were very healthy as humans. We would not be here today if that way of eating had not been successful. I mean, some people say, oh, we were vegetarians or we were vegans or this or that. No, we now know from scientific evidence, bone analysis, large piles of bones from the animals we ate, and of course piles of shells and everything, that's what we were eating. There's no doubt about that.
How did you get involved in this, or what's your background? And
Okay, well, I started out in life having a lot of health issues that sort of plagued me. In my early teens, I had acne, I had terrible migraine headaches, I became bulimic. Later on in life, I had autoimmune disorders, and a lot of depression. My mother had schizophrenia, a mental illness, and I was always worried that I was going to get the mental illness, or it was going to skip a generation and my children would have the mental illness or whatever. So I was always really interested in the brain and genetics. So I studied that as I went along. But most of my life I just didn't feel that well. And I was living in Hood River, Oregon in 2009. And I came across the book Primal Body, Primal Mind, written by Nora Gidgaudas. She's a neurofeedback specialist and nutritionist, and she lives in Oregon, in Portland. So the book really impressed me. I really got the idea that it's our diet that contributes to our health, or if we're not eating very appropriately, it contributes to our demise. But at the end of her book, she's talking about this genetic disorder, pyroluria, which is a vitamin B6 and zinc deficiency. It's a genetic disorder. And she listed the symptoms, about 30 symptoms, and I had about 20 of those symptoms. And it said that it was one of the contributors of schizophrenia. Oh. Wow. Well, that really got my attention, and I called her right up. I said, my mother had schizophrenia. I have all these symptoms. I'd really like to come and see you. So we had lunch, and I became her client. And she got me started on the paleo diet. We did a lot of tests. I was very hypoglycemic, low in vitamin D3 levels. Of course, we did the test for pyroluria, which is a urine test, a $50 urine test, and there it was. I had the genetic disorder.
Wow.
Yes, it
And
was amazing.
so there's no guessing about it. You
No
knew
guessing.
ahead. So
Yes.
then that put into motion your quest to find how you can treat it through health.
Yes. Well, basically, I have to take vitamin B6 and zinc supplements for the rest of my life. I mean, how easy is that? No pharmaceuticals. I had been on various kinds of medications for years and finally gave those up in the early 2000s because I didn't feel like they were helping. But I have to say, well, let me back up a little bit. She started me on the paleo diet, eliminating grains, and legumes, sugars, starchy vegetables, all of that. And I started eating more meat, more nutritious fats, and I would say within 3 months my hypoglycemia went away, but also my depression went away. It was
Within
that
3
fast.
weeks?
3 months.
Oh, 3
yes,
months.
3 months.
So was that an easy transition for you to do with the change of your diet and eliminating so much like the wheat? And
No. I'll be honest, it wasn't easy at all. I was very hypoglycemic, very addicted to sugars my whole life. The mood swings that come along with sugar addiction are awful, and you get a very shaky feeling when you're having low blood sugar and have to eat something right away. But with the increased protein and the increase in fats like butter, cream, olive oil, avocados, all that really helped to cut the cravings for sugar. But it did take a few months to tackle
Really
that
adjust.
one. Yeah.
So what is the essence of the paleo? What can you eat and what to eliminate?
Okay, well, our ancestors basically did not eat grains or legumes.
And that wasn't around then.
It wasn't around then. You know, they ate the meat and wild fish and anything foraged that they could find that they could possibly eat. Remember, we didn't cook then. We didn't have any cooking utensils, so it had to be readily edible and digestible. So that was a problem during that time. There weren't that many plants that they could just take and eat, but and there was a lot of experimentation, I'm sure.
Right.
But you know, they basically had observed, you know, through our long evolutionary history of being primates, they had been eating some plants, nuts and seeds and berries when they could find them, so they foraged for those things.
And there wasn't a lot of fruit either, so that wasn't a big component in their diet, right?
That's right. There was barely any fruit at all. If they found any wild berries, they were very, very tart or very, very bitter. And so the thing that sort of delineates the primal diet from other diets is it's a fat-based diet. They ate a lot of fat because the fats staved off starvation. They ate the organ meats first, the brain,
and even the bone
liver,
marrow
the
is
bone
really good.
marrow, very nourishing. So that's the part of the animal that they ate first.
So it's a fat-burning eating rather than the glucose burning.
Yes, when you eliminate all the sugars, and this takes a little while to get your body used to that, then you start burning ketones, which are the energy units of fat. Actually, your brain and your heart prefer this. You know, there's been a whole thing for many, many decades that fat is bad for the heart.
Right.
Well, the good fats, the nutritious fats from wild meats are actually very nourishing for the heart and brain.
Yeah, let's talk about those fats because we have been kind of programmed to stay away from them, go to lean meats, and now you're saying that all of that is good for the heart and also the growth of our brain. Wasn't that part of how the Paleo's lithic ancestors, we saw an increase in the brain size because of
yes, that was because of the omega-3 fatty acids. The wild animals eat the grass, and so the meat and fat have the omega-3 fatty acids due to the grass consumption, and so that stays in the meat and fat. Therefore, when we eat the wild animals or wild fish, we're also getting the omega-3 fatty acids, and that was the reason our brains became larger and more complex than the other primates.
Well, now the wild meat, as you say, we've got commercially raised meat now, and so our diet is filled with if you eat chicken or even beef, it's got hormones, antibiotics. So we're eating that, and even though people say I'm not on antibiotics, if you eat commercially raised food, it will have it in it. So I guess that leads to a little bit now how the paleo diet works with the gut and intestinal health.
Well, let's just back up just a minute. Our commercially raised meat, yes, when animals are fed grains, their meat and fat is converted to omega-6 fatty acid. So it changes immediately. So the best way we can replicate the paleo diet now is eating exclusively grass-fed and grass-finished meat. Now this is very important, and meat like this is beginning to show up in our grocery stores.
Yes,
since the 90s, there's been ranchers who have realized, that this is the way to go. This is the cattle's normal food. If you feed them grains, they start to get ill, and that's why they give them the hormones and antibiotics. So actually, the grains disrupt their intestinal system, cause inflammation and all that, and I do have to say, when we eat grains, the same thing happens. So then we can segue into our little part about the gut and how the sugars and the grains cause disruption in our gut system, create pathogenic bacteria, and then cause all kinds of symptoms. That's why a lot of us are getting sick right now.
Well, one thing I learned was that our immune system, like 95% of it, resides in your gut. So if you're feeding yourself antibiotics, hormones, and other bacteria, then it's going to take a hit. The immune system's going to take a hit. It's right there in your gut.
I think I had immune problems my entire life, and I didn't really get the gut-brain connection when I first started the paleo diet. I've read more about that recently, but I think that's why about 3 months into the diet, it corrected my intestinal profile, and because of that, my depression went away. The gut and the brain are definitely connected, as all the doctors have been telling us now, and miraculously, the depression went away. I mean...
Well, I mentioned to you in an earlier conversation that I didn't realize I was doing the paleo diet because I was researching on how to correct my immune system. I had a lot of autoimmune problems, associated problems, and the list of problems, autoimmune diseases, is quite extensive. But I said, I'm going to correct this. There's got to be a natural way to do this and to get my immune system back up. And in researching that, it's eliminate all the bad bacteria, and they recommended doing a detox and no fruit at all because sugar fuels the fungus and it feeds the bacteria. And
same thing.
So, and no wheat, absolutely. And I was always on a low carb because I had hypoglycemia as well. But I thought, well, I'll just try it. What can it hurt? Eliminating bread. And for me, within 4 days, there was a significant difference.
Wow,
4
that's
days.
fast.
But I had a lot of the brain fog, fatigue, just that prevailing fatigue. But then I learned that doing research more, looking for foods or recipes with no wheat or whatever, that it led me to the paleo, and I didn't realize that I was doing it. So those two, that lifestyle, and I like not calling it a diet because it really isn't the weight loss. People go to that, it's a fad, but it's a way of living.
Yes. It is a way of living. A lot of people say, oh, it's just another one of those fad diets, but it's a 2 million-year-old fad.
Right.
And it happens to have been very successful.
Right. And I think because there's few foods, people think they're going to get hungry, but in fact, we'll see a little bit later with your cooking demonstration, it's very plentiful. It's not like you have to deny yourself anything or go hungry by any means.
Actually, I think it cuts the hunger pangs and the craving, because the combination of small amounts of protein, and we really don't need that much protein, say 25 grams per meal or whatever, 50 to 65 grams total during the day, but with almost an equal amount of fat that can come in the form of butter, whipping cream, egg yolks, avocados, and the fat from the meat. Now that is going to be sustaining. That's what's really going to make you feel full and satisfied for hours, actually. You can get by on that.
Bacon's back in.
Bacon.
Good, I love bacon.
Yes.
But, and you can get it uncured without any hormones.
Yes.
And I have to say, eating the meats and poultry without hormones, it's a different taste. It's a completely different taste.
Yes,
it's so much better.
The meat, the chicken, the poultry, the eggs taste so much better. It's amazing. Everybody has said that.
Yeah. So it's an easy adjustment to make for better tasting food, and fat really is good.
Well, fat is a vehicle of flavor, and what we're looking for actually is flavor in our food. And people think they're going to be deprived if they take carbs or grains or bread out of their diet. But what I've tried to do with the cookbook, and I think it's very successful, is I've replaced it with a lot of flavor and a lot of interest. I was a chef for 25, 30 years, had a catering company in the Napa Valley, and I can say all the recipes are great.
And I've tried some too. Yeah, I can say they're great. How does dairy play into it? Because that wasn't part of the dietary program.
Yes, for millions of years after we nursed our babies, that was it. We didn't have cow's milk or any other kind of animal that we milked then, so that was the end of milk consumption. So our bacteria, our evolutionary bacteria, were not used to digesting other animal milk proteins. So actually, we're still having lots of problems with this. That's why I'm casein intolerant. Many people are. And that's why the paleo diet does not include dairy. I did keep some dairy in the book for people who can tolerate it. I make ghee, which I have a demonstration on my website, how to make
that's
ghee.
Basically to take the dairy, the milk solids out.
It takes the milk solids out, so you just have basically a wonderful buttery flavored cooking oil that's great. You can saute at high temperatures. It won't burn then. I switched over to sheep's milk cheese and goat's milk cheese. Some people can tolerate that. So it's up to you whether you want to use any dairy. But I do have substitutes in the book. So coconut milk, almond milk.
Yeah.
So.
And so much better for you too.
Yeah.
The sheep and the goat, you can get those. You can now get pastured.
Yes.
Cow, cheddar cheese. Our local Briar Patch carries that, and that seems to do better with me without that. The cows are grass fed.
Yes,
and that
that's
makes a big
what that
difference.
means. Pastured. You have to look for that word on labels. Pastured.
And other things to look for in the labels.
When we step over to the table, I'll show you the Nevada County free-range beef. Now that has a label on it that says no hormones, no antibiotics, and it says grass finished.
Okay.
So when you're buying beef at the meat counter, you want to ask your butcher, is it grass finished.
Finished.
And he will tell you whether it is or isn't.
Okay.
So that's the thing.
Well, and that's a good segue because we now are going to go over and have a little food demonstration with one of your recipes, and we can take a look at some of the labeling so we can get a good idea of what to look for in the markets.
Okay,
so
great.
let's go
Let's
over
go.
there.
All right. Well, we were just talking about grass-fed meat. This is from our county, Nevada County free-range beef, and right here on the label it says locally raised, grass-fed, and grass-finished, no hormones and no antibiotics. So when you're buying meat in the grocery store, this is what you want to look for. And it's very, very clean, very good tasting.
It is.
So these are local eggs from a producer, and it says pasture raised. This means the chickens get to run around. They get to run around in the sun, eat bugs, seeds, and they're not fed any genetically modified material. So the egg yolks are really nice and rich looking.
Mm-hmm. This is so great that it's available now.
Yes,
that we have choices.
You can get most of this stuff at the farmer's market too. So
Oh, nice.
that's a good place to look for grass-fed meats too. Usually they'll show up at the farmer's market from your local producers. Get to know your local producers.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
What are we going to make today?
All right. This is the salmon salad niçoise. I've pre-grilled the salmon, and I have some salad greens here, and I've prepped some vegetables. So I'm just going to kind of assemble it here.
And that's kind of a common salad that you'll see in restaurants that's
Yes.
served, so it's nothing...
Yes, but with us, it's without the potato.
Okay.
But you won't miss the potato.
So root vegetables in general are more starchy.
Yes, root vegetables. So we're trying to avoid starches that will convert to sugar, and they're highly glycemic. So if you're having blood sugar issues, you want to avoid them. And if you want to be on a ketogenic diet, you'll want to avoid starches and sugars.
I can smell the dressing. What is in
Yeah,
that?
it's
smells
mustard,
great.
a lot of lemon, a good California olive oil, and salt and pepper. I just like a simple dressing for the salad. And then I've pre-grilled the salmon. This is wild king salmon.
And that's fresh now, too, because
Yes.
the wild salmon is in now.
Yes.
And wild caught, so it's not farm-raised, which is another benefit.
Right, no farm-raised fish.
So you set the base with greens, and you put the dressing first on the
I
greens.
dressed the greens.
Okay, dress
yeah.
the greens.
And basically, since it's summer, you can use summer vegetables. I've grilled some scallion here, which are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also grilled some eggplant. I love eggplant, and especially when you grill it, it's fantastic.
Oh, this is from your garden?
The eggplant isn't. The tomatoes are. I just picked
Oh,
the
okay.
tomatoes. Salad niçoise normally has little tender green beans, so we have some beans. We have some wonderful cucumber, and the pastured eggs.
Nice.
Definitely go on a niçoise salad.
Lots of color.
Lots of color. This is a summer salad. And these are the tomatoes that I just picked from my garden. We'll sprinkle those around.
And everything can be at room temperature. It doesn't have to be hot. You can do it ahead of time.
Absolutely. You
Okay.
can get everything ready ahead. So if you're don't consider yourself much of a cook, I call this assembling. And I couldn't find any niçoise olives. No problem. These are wonderful Kalamata olives.
So you can make substitutions.
Absolutely. And a few lemon slices here.
Now your cookbook
And
also
radishes.
includes some desserts too, right? So it's not just course meals. You've got
I do
a range
have
of
some
recipes
desserts.
from morning to night.
And the dessert recipes have no added sugar, so they might have a little berry in, and if you need a little extra sweetness, a little stevia. Some people don't like it, but they are definitely no added sugars in the
Okay.
dessert recipes.
Gosh, we're not giving up anything.
Nope.
No. Stevie,
And a few capers. I love capers.
Yeah, they add a little punch.
Yeah. And we'll just dress it with a tiny bit more dressing here.
Okay.
There we go. And there you have dinner.
Now, you had some avocado, too.
We do, and I love avocado pretty much every day. I have 1 or 2 avocados. That adds a lot of fat and also other vitamins and minerals. So I'll just put a little avocado on it, too.
Yeah, avocado is good.
Yeah. So there you go. And this is you can get all these things ready ahead of time. I always have a lot of vegetables in the refrigerator. I would say I have a vegetarian diet, lots of vegetables with small amounts of meat or fish. Not that much. It's not the caveman diet or the Atkins diet with big slabs. It's
Right.
small amounts.
And the distinction with the Atkins, because this is very meat-based, people go to, oh, that's the Atkins diet.
Yes.
But the difference is this is fat burning.
Yes.
And Atkins was more about the eating a lot of meat and lean and staying away from the
And
fat.
he didn't make the distinction of using specifically grass-fed meat. My boyfriend did the Atkins diet for a while, lots of meat, and he got gout. So, yeah, too much meat is not a good thing.
Yeah, it's the balance.
Yes, it's the balance.
Well, I like that your book has a lot of information in the front about the difference between pastured and chemically raised animals, and a lot of good references in the book, and then you go into the recipes.
There's a lot of references, and I've adjusted the protein content in each of the recipes too, so it's lower in protein than you would expect with other recipes too. But I explain that in the beginning of the book so people understand.
Yeah,
the recipe.
I like that they know why they're doing this.
Yes,
and why it's important.
Reading the first part of the book is really important because it really helps you understand the recipes and the whole concept behind
and why we need it,
and
why
why we
it's
need it.
beneficial, why we need it. So this looks good enough to eat, I gotta say. And
maybe we should eat some.
we got to take a quick taste right before our final seconds run out.
We will.
Let's see, what are we going to go for first?
How about some salmon on the plate?
Always got to try the salmon.
Yeah, some avocado.
Oh, avocado.
And how about eggplant? There we go.
Okay.
Oh, and let's not forget an egg. I'll just reach for one.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. And in our
There you
final
go,
seconds,
Cheryl.
I'm going to take a quick bite and go yum, yum, yum of fresh wild salmon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good
nice,
salmon.
light, and a good compliment on it. So, Pauli, thank you so much for being here
Thanks,
tonight
Cheryl.
and enlightening us on the paleo diet. And I want to thank you for watching us tonight. And I want to thank NCTV Studios for our program. And the camera crew and the control room crew, thank you so much for putting this all together. And we'll see you next time.